Right. Hi, everybody. We are live. Thank you so much for joining us for our third Thursday Common Sense Parenting Facebook Live. I know it's normally Susie who hops on these. We did a little flip flop this week. So, my name is Gabby, and I am a social media specialist here at Boys Town. So, my role is to manage all the social media pages, including the Boys Town Parenting page. So, thank you for joining us. Bridget, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
Good. Are
I'm
you
glad.
excited for Christmas?
Yeah, I am. I think it's going to be different. Christmas this year, it's going to be different, but I think I'm excited to figure out how we can make it fun. So we're celebrating Kwanzaa as well this year. So that's a little different for us.
That's awesome. Well, I know that since it's already Thursday, many of our families that are tuning in, watching, have kids who are wrapping up school this week and they'll be home for Christmas break. So, with that, I think that this topic is very timely because the kids will be home and they might be fighting a little bit more than usual. So, appreciate you hopping on to talk through some of our questions that were submitted.
You're welcome.
So, if anybody watching has any questions as we go through this live stream, please feel free to comment them on the live stream itself, and we can get those answered during the stream. So, perfect. Well, with the kids, like I said, going to be home these next few weeks over the holiday break. Bridget, what advice do you have for families on keeping the peace and preventing fighting and bickering during the holiday season?
Well, you're not going to be able to stop all the bickering during the holiday season, but you can be really proactive and talk to the kids about what is the expectation and teaching them some tools about how to get along. We have some great things that we teach parents in our classes about how to teach kids how to get along, how to use their words instead of their hands, and just how to be able to problem problem, and then reacting would be my first step in regards to dealing with sibling rivalry or issues that come up during the holiday season. So you can really enjoy it and not have to feel like you're putting out a fire everywhere with your kids.
Right. Yeah. And with that sibling rivalry, we also got a question submitted on how do we deal with siblings that maybe fight over Christmas gifts? Perhaps you have two girls that are very similar in age that, one of them gets the Barbie that the other one wanted or anything close to that. What advice do you have for that?
Well, I would say you would respond the same way if they were fighting over anything else. Uh,
Yeah.
and the understanding that kids are going to have emotional needs and differences. How our little one might respond to someone else getting a toy or something that she's not mature enough to have, but she thinks she wants that thing, and how to deal with those emotions, as well as an older kid who might not want that little sibling around and they're responding emotionally. So getting kids to say their feelings, say how they feel. That's okay to have those feelings. What's not okay is how you express that to your brother or sister. Okay. So that you can build trust between the two of them and respect. So using your words and not your voice to yell or your hands to touch your brother or sister. And then telling kids that being fair is not being equal. Everybody's not going to get the same thing. Okay. And the reason why is because you're different and you're unique and you get different things than your brother or your sister. So teaching them about the difference between fair and equal.
Mhm. Yeah, and I do think we do have quite a few articles related to that on our parenting website. So we'll make sure to link those in the comments on
Great.
managing expectations and fairness and similarly related topics. So, kind of a general question related to that. in general, how can we get our kids to respect each other? Just not even during the holiday season,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
around.
Well, sometimes children are not using respectful behavior, maybe because they don't know that skill or haven't been using that respectful muscle enough. And so I give them opportunities to use respect. I have this little thing. I know it looks like a stick, but it is not. It's called my integrity stick. And what it means is that when you're having an altercation, I give it to one child, and you can speak as long as you're holding that stick, not to hit your brother, but just to speak, and then hand it to your brother, and then he gets a chance to say what he thinks. Okay, and so teaching kids visually how to wait for each other to have a say, and how to listen to the other person and respect what the other person has to say. So you're kind of doing that by just having that visual aid that says, I need to wait and listen to that other person and respect what they're having to say and give them a turn. And then praising both kids for taking the time to respectfully do that. And you might think this is just for little kids, but I've seen teenagers need sick, and they need to wait for each other and be able to listen to each other. Sometimes just using praise more,
Mhm.
right? Especially now during the holiday seasons, can be a wonderful tool. And up on your site you have these little praise boxes that and so just by praising kids you kind of create an atmosphere in the home. And when you see them really getting along during the holiday season and not fighting, catch them right then and praise them for that. Put something in their little praise box saying, you guys got along today. And then at dinner time, take it out and remind them of how well they got along and how they solve problems or use the integrity stick to communicate.
Yeah, it's like we always say, catch them being good, and then when you catch them, make sure that you praise it on. So I love the idea of using both of those tools. So thank you for sharing those. Um, our next question we got is more about the parents, which I think that is we need to remember how us parents are feeling too during this time. So sometimes as parents, I get stressed when the holidays are in full swing. I feel like my stress falls onto my kids and can cause them to fight. What tips do you have for mental health and well-being for parents to cope during this holiday season?
Yes, during this holiday season, we're all a little stressed out, and parents especially. So, self care is an important tool to use and to model to your children. And I think another tool that, just so taking some time to meditate just for a few minutes. It only takes a few minutes at the beginning of your day, maybe using that. Or when you're feeling stressed, just take a step back, learn to breathe, do something that's calming to yourself, whether it's wash your face or do a little crossword puzzle, whatever. You can just kind of refocus yourself, or just being still can be a nice kind of reboot so that you can maintain your calm demeanor. I think also teaching kids to be grateful. I think some of the stress comes from parents, they're trying so hard and they're doing so much, and then they feel like their kids are really being demanding and not very grateful for the things that they're doing. So then they're feeling more stressed out and not appreciated, right? So this is also a good time for parents to teach kids the true meaning of Christmas, of the holiday season, and to maybe take those 12 days before Christmas, and now we have a shorter period, but just take some days before Christmas and count down what we're grateful for that cost no money, and do those kind of things with our kids. And I think those kind of uh, gratitude and just finding the joy in your day can help you to calm down and be able to parent your kids during this stressful but holiday season.
Yes, I think those are tips we all can probably implement this week and next week, especially. So, for sure. Um, Now, getting into sometimes kids, when they fight, it can get physical. So, hair pulling, punching, biting, you name it. how can we first get that to stop in its tracks if it's happening in our homes, and how do you prevent it?
You definitely, when it's already happening in your home, the first thing you have to do is to make sure you're calm. Raising your voice and laying your hands on kids is not the way to go. So, USA, make sure that you are calm, and then respond to your kiddos with immediately by separating them. Number one, don't try to talk to them and find out what's going on until you separate kids and make sure that they're calm. And while they're getting calm, you can be getting calm and thinking about what steps you want to take next. And a nice little tool I sometimes use with kids is like a neat little calm down kit. In this bag, I have a lot of little calm down mechanisms that children can use, a stress ball, and little bubbles they can blow, or whatever kids can do to help themselves. A little journal for older kids, and so you can use a calm down while they're getting calm. And when kids are really calm, completely calm, then you bring them back together to talk about what should we do differently the next time. Don't try to dress up like what caused this. No, well, let's deal with what we should do when we feel upset and angry. Deal with that first. Instead of laying our hands on each other, what other things can we do? Yeah, we can use our voices. Yes, without yelling, we can tell people how we feel. So, how do you feel? I feel really mad. Okay, you feel really mad, and why? Why do you feel that way? Well, because he took my toy and didn't ask. Right. So, what should he do differently? Ask me. That's right. And what should you do? Not punch him. Okay, right. So you can use your voice and say, I don't like you taking my toys. And if he doesn't give it back, you can come and see me. So kind of walk kids through the steps, take up a little bit of their time from what they might be wanting to do to have them practice that once they are calm. But lots of times parents try to intervene when children are still upset. They're grabbing and punching at each other. No, calm yourself down. Go to the children, separate them, make sure they're calm using their calm down kits or whatever helps them to get calm. Once everybody else is calm, bring them back together and talk about how you should handle things calmly in the future.
Yeah, and we have all the steps to make calm down kits on our website, so I'll make sure to link that too. And that is a great tool.
Yeah, we have so many tools as parents that we can use.
Every answer has a tool, basically. So, which is great. So, great things that you can take from this live stream and do at home. So, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What are some of your recommendations for consequences? This user wrote, I make my kids go to their rooms when they're fighting, just like we talked about separating them. But then they come right back out and the fighting continues. So what else could they do?
Right. So great. The person said they separate the children and they go to their rooms. The thing you want to do is what I said, when you bring them back together, go over how to calmly solve problems. That's the first thing. Number one, have the kids practice how to calmly deal with issues and use their voices and their words instead of their hands. Then the next thing you'll want to do is, yes, talk about the consequences because they did touch each other and because they were fighting and what the consequence is of that. And usually what I rely on is when kids are not being considerate of each other, Gabby, and they're grabbing each other or making negative statements toward each other, is they have to do considerate things for each other. Now, if you were inconsiderate, now you have to do the opposite and you're going to do some considerate things for that person you were fighting with, right? So that's the tool I think might be helpful to use. And then you always know what consequence to use. It won't be too big. It won't be too small. It will be do one considerate thing, one kind thing for that other person. So help them fold their laundry, help them. And then they have to learn how to work together, which is something maybe they're not used to. And by getting that experience, they'll get better, right, at dealing with each other versus just separating them and never having them interact with each other. They need that opportunity to do so with your supervision. Don't just put them in a room and say,
right.
do the laundry.
Say that when they're fighting over over
No,
who's putting what in the washer, putting what in the dryer. So
right. You
definitely.
have to be nearby. So, you don't have to be a helicopter parent, but you should be in with earshot or, distance of what's going on and checking on what's going on with those kiddos and having them check in with you.
Great. Well, this next question, this is for all of those parents out there who are parenting teenagers. Know that we are with you and we are standing by you because we know it's hard. So this one says that their high schoolers fight every single day on the way to school. So, if one of them is 15 and the other 16 and they're carpooling, that they're fighting over what's on the radio, what time should they leave for school, basically all of it. So this parent wants to know how can they get them to just get along and get to school and home and have a good day.
Great. Well, one tool that I use that, this parent could consider is when the kids get in the car and, they usually put their technology on right away. They're on their phone, they've got their headset, they're doing something with technology. They love that technology. And so to get in my car, you have to be able to get along for 10 minutes before you can earn the technology, before I turn on the radio, before you be able to put your earplugs in, before you can look at your phone. You need to be able to have a conversation and get along. If nobody wants to do that, then technology is staying off until we get to where we're going. Most kids are like, no, I'm going to fake it until I make it. I'm going to have a conversation. So I think it's fine for them to practice that tool for 10 minutes. That's usually the time limit before they explode. And then you let them use their technology. If they begin to argue once they get their technology, we start all over. It's like, you have to go back to square one. Okay, you're arguing, all technology's off. Here we go again. You guys need to have a 10-minute conversation, And so they're learning, hey, I just need to get along. All right, don't get to use the things I want to use versus, So I would do that technique. It really worked for me. It might not work for every parent, depending on the age of the child. But if you have teenagers, that's a great tool and a great incentive to teach them how to get along versus arguing all the way to school in your vehicle.
Yes, definitely. That is a great idea. It's like all or nothing, guys. Okay, this one is a great one, especially when everyone's home for Christmas break, and it relates to attention. So, my kids are always fighting for attention. If we are giving attention to one sibling, well, the other sibling acts out because they want mom and dad to pay attention to them or gets frustrated about it. So, how can we deal with this? They say, I try my best to give love equally to both of them. They just get jealous so easily.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's kind of what kids do. They want our attention, which is not a bad thing. When kids want to be around us, there'll be a day when they won't want to be around us. So, when that happens, when kids begin to really fight over you and want attention, a couple of things. You want to kick up your praise so they know that they're getting praise. And sometimes I use these little rubber bands on my wrists. And so every time I correct a kid for, barging in and getting my attention when I'm with another child, I'll find 4 other times to praise them for waiting their turn or getting along with their brother or something like that. So praising that child sometimes and giving them that attention. You might not know that you're not giving enough attention. You might think you are, but maybe you're not. And this is a way to gauge that. You might feel like, yeah, I do see my rubber bands are going, on the other wrist. I am praising this kid. So that is one thing that you can do with little people is just, kick up your praise. But also, I ask them to praise each other for the other sibling to notice that child. Because sometimes they want to be with the other sibling, like, oh, where's he? What's he doing? And he's over there with mom. So he's intervening. So when the other child can turn to their little brother and sister and say, your hair looks really cute today, or you did a good job of putting your blocks together. And then I reward that child with something. And then the other child seems to get really revved up and happy about their sibling noticing them, even more than my praise. I've noticed that. Like when their big brother and sister praise them, it's like, wow, they're really, you know, enjoying that.
Crucial.
Or when the little, yeah, I think it's good to use that child to notice that kid versus I have to figure out how to cut myself into a lot of little parts for every child in my household. So use
Mm,
the other children to praise each other, and when they do so, reward them. So I might say to a kid, okay, you can get something out of the joy jar because use your praise with your little brother or sister, and they're like, oh, thank you, and they get some reward for praising. You're going to notice that praise is going to go up really quickly when you have those incentives around.
yeah, definitely. Can you explain maybe for our newer viewers what is Boys Town's 4-to-1 praise ratio? What does that mean?
Okay, so what it means is for every one time I correct a child, I try to find four other times to praise them. This ratio helps us to have a more positive approach because sometimes we get in a jag of noticing everything negative kids are doing and not always noticing the good things. So I just, like I said, I use a rubber band. I put a black rubber band on my wrist, and then I put four other colored rubber bands on my wrist. And so for every time I correct a child, I'll move the black rubber band to my non-dominant hand, and then I have an hour to get those other colors to my other wrist. And that is just making me kind of programming me to notice things and to praise kids. And then kids cannot trick me into believing that I'm not noticing them. You always pay attention to him. No, no, no. See all these rubber bands on this wrist?
Here's the
I'm paying.
proof.
I've got proof, man. I am paying attention to you. So I think that it really helps parents not feel guilty that they are, giving more attention to one child versus the other, and they have proof. And if they aren't doing it, they can kind of change their behavior as well. Because it's easy to notice when kids are doing, negative behavior and give more attention to that than when they are doing something good.
Yeah, definitely. We did get a comment submitted in the comment section. So, how do you handle blended family siblings who aren't used to being around each other?
Yes. Well, definitely plan for that. I have a blended family, and so when my kids are growing up, they didn't live in the same household, and then when we moved away, they didn't live in the same state. So we really had to plan and make opportunities for them to spend time together. So I think that you have to kind of be proactive and talk to the kids about what they like and what they don't like. And you have to understand about personalities. Sometimes two personalities just don't get along. They're just like oil and water. And so
Mhm.
know that about them and have smaller interactions or monitored interactions because there might be a little altercation with that. And then giving them time to be along with you and a break by themselves as well. So it's not constant, always on with their sibling, but they have times that they are going to be with their sibling, and they're going to have times alone with them as well as with the family.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for answering that. And like I said, guys, if you have questions for Bridget and I, please comment them. We still have a couple more minutes left, so we love to take your live questions as you're watching. So, okay. Homework. This is timely. We still are halfway through the year almost. So, how do I get my kids to stop fighting during homework time? They both do their homework at the kitchen table, and there are frequent fights during the school week.
If you can, move them to another place. So one person does it at the kitchen table, and someone else does it in another open area that you can monitor. So if you have a study desk someplace else in the house, or just as long as you can monitor that child. But yeah, I would just move them and save yourself the headache.
Yes. Yeah, and we did the Boys Town digital doses back when coronavirus first started, and they are all available on a landing page on our website, which I will remember to link. And there is a day called How to Build a Study Space. So that's a great tool. I believe it's 10 steps to making an effective homework spot. So whether you're learning virtually throughout the day, your child is, or they come home and have homework to do every day, that is a great tool from Boys Town to use to make a successful spot that is away from the other siblings and will hopefully help avoid fights. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I did. I also, some of my kids were better at studying at a certain time of day than
Mhm.
others. So they had a rotating thing so that I could really pay attention, because if everybody's at the table, then everybody has different things. And so my son, he was very good about doing his homework in the morning because he had so much sports and other things at night, and then he was just tired in the so it's really knowing about the kid too. So schedule study time with your child and try to make it so that you can be there to help them if they need that and monitor their homework time.
All right. And it looks like we have one more question on my list. So, this one, looking ahead a bit, any ideas for New Year's resolutions for fighting siblings?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Resolutions. Here's my thing about resolution. I hardly ever keep them. So I stopped making them years ago. And I think that if kids promise they're going to do this or that, you can use a chart if you're going to have a resolution and say, this is our goal, and if we make it halfway there or a little bit there, we make an effort, great. But I try not to hold kids to promises that I can't even keep, and most adults can't as far as these resolutions are concerned. But it's always good to have a goal, like we're going to play at least one game together in the week, have a meal together during the week. I'm going to help you at least once, a day. So if you put things on your chart and you try to have a goal to, reach that, and a reward for kids, making that effort, I think that could be good, and make kids the monitors of those charts and things like that, and check in with them about it, so that it really belongs to them. And if you have a family meeting, like we do at Boys Town, we have family meetings to kind of talk to each other about what's going on. That's a time to be talking about how is it going with your sibling chart. Are you guys making any headway? Are you reaching your goals, so that at the end we can do this really great activity that we wanted to do, like go to this event or this outing. So yeah, I would probably chart it, but don't get your hopes up. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. I think it's great that you said that, just to not set your expectations super high, because especially as kids, if they, think of this huge idea for a resolution and maybe they can't follow through with it, they might get down on themselves a bit. So I love the idea of doing a family meeting, something that is very realistic. It could be every Sunday before the start of a new school week, just sit down as a family and discuss goals and, what happened this week that we could do better next week, and kind of take it as a week by week basis instead of trying to look at the whole year. So,
I think so too. When you can break it down to, those family meetings, and you can put it on a chart and break down that goal a little bit, I think is more, you have more success versus I'm going to be a better sibling and we're always going to get along. That's probably not going to happen.
yeah.
But
If they did, we wouldn't have to have these third Thursdays. So,
I know.
all right. Well, that's great. Well, like I said, if anyone has additional questions, feel free to comment them. You can also send the Boys Town Parenting Facebook page a message, and we can return your question there. And Bridget, I hope you have a great holiday season.
I will. I think it's going to be different, but I think we're going to just be grateful and try to find the joy in the little things that we're able to do versus focusing on the things we're not able to do. And we want to let everybody know we'll be having classes in 2021, and many of them will be free. So you'll definitely want to go up to our registration page if you live in Nebraska and check out our new online classes.
Yep. So that's boystownparenting.org/CSP, and you can find all of those resources as well as many other free resources too. So awesome. Well,
Great.
thank you, Bridget, and we hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a great rest of your holiday.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.